We're going to ask some questions, and then before you leave the room, we're going to make sure that you get a chance to tell us anything that maybe we didn't ask about.
Okay.
So if there's a great answer to a question that just never comes up, you can tell us about it then.
Great.
And I think that's it. Is that the spiel?
I think that's the spiel.
Okay.
I filled in for Mark on Friday, so I did the spiel 4 times.
First thing, wondering how long you've aspired to be district attorney. Is this a childhood ambition or a more recent development, something that you thought of?
It's been a more recent development. I've always wanted to be an attorney, and always followed around one of my father's good friends who's an attorney, and he was actually a district attorney in the area. And always, it was just always a dream of mine to be an attorney. And when I went to law school, and time again we were taught about the constitutional rights, how to protect people, and that is your job, to protect people. And when I saw what occurred in our county, that's when I decided I'm going to step up, I'm going to run for district attorney.
When did you actually decide to enter this particular race? What were the circumstances? And kind of take us through the process. Who you talked to, what considerations went into it, that kind of thing.
I decided to run, I would say, about a little over a week before the primaries. The reason being is that I waited to see if anybody was going to step forward. This is a time of change in our area. We're trying to bring in new faces. We're trying to eliminate the corruption, the black cloud over our county. And when I saw that no one stepped up, no one decided to run for district attorney on the Republican side, I decided I was going to step up. I knew there were a lot of people, possible colleagues that were thinking about running, one being Ann Lakuta, and I wanted to see if this was accurate. And when I saw that she didn't step up, when I saw that no one was going to, I decided I needed to for our county.
I read previously that you said some people who are active in the Republican Party had come to you or suggested to you. Can you tell us some of those people who you consulted with and what they were telling you at the time? They
were colleagues of mine that I've worked with from the beginning, since I've moved back to the county to practice law. One being, I could give you an example, Bruce Phillips. Another being John Rogers. They're very close friends of mine, and we were at lunch one day and we were just discussing it, and I told them how I felt, and they said they would support me 100%, but I had to make that final decision. It was my life that I was going to be throwing out there, and that would be criticized, because we all know how politics can be dirty, and it was my final say, and I felt so strongly, because no one stepped up, that I knew I needed to. So they were just people, to name just a couple of them, that actually came forward and said, you have our full support. But there were many others.
Okay. And I want to go quickly, if I may, through a bit of your educational background. You're a graduate of Dallas High School?
Yes, I am a proud graduate.
Then you went to Temple University, pursuing a degree in Business Administration and Marketing?
Correct.
Then you went to Michigan, Thomas Cooley Law School?
Correct.
Why so? What was it about that particular school that appealed to you?
Thomas Cooley?
Mm-hmm.
Because I applied to many different law schools, and first and foremost, they gave me a wonderful scholarship. I didn't want to come out of law school owing my life. It's expensive to go to law school, and to go through Temple University, then to law school, there's a lot of debt there. So I chose wisely. I looked into their program, and I saw that their program is based on practical experience. It's not just learning the law and then taking a test. It was, you're going to learn the law, we're going to apply it, we're going to put you in law firms, you're going to practice with lawyers in the area, you're going to sit in with judges, you're going to do all of these things, and you're going to come out knowing what you need to do. Some law schools, a lot of law schools don't do that. They don't give you that practical experience. It's, for instance, when I did an internship with Cooley, it was with a lawyer in Lansing, Michigan, and I came out, and it was after my first term. I knew how to write a complaint. I knew how to answer a complaint. I was teaching people from MSU and University of Michigan how to do that. So we got that basic, that practical experience that I thought was necessary. So that's why I chose to go to Thomas Cooley.
And was it a law degree always in your sights? I mean, even in Temple when you were pursuing those business degrees, that was as a stepping stone, or were you still sort of exploring the options?
I was still exploring. I have to say, when you go to college, you dream big. You think, I want to go to law school. I want to be a lawyer. At the time when I was younger, Ally McBeal was huge. So so everybody wanted to be a lawyer. Everybody wanted to be that lawyer, that person, that woman in front of the judge. And it just seemed like a spectacular job. But you tend to learn. You tend to grow up and learn. It's a lot of work. So when I went to college, I decided I want to go to law school, but let me see what else is out there. I have two parents that own successful businesses in the area, and I grew up with that. And I grew up managing businesses. I grew up hiring staff. I grew up just around that atmosphere. And I thought maybe that would be another avenue, and that's why I went into business management as well, because it gave me both sides. I learned how to run a business more efficiently going to Temple University. And also marketing. I chose marketing because of that all wraps together business-wise. So I also was very interested in the marketing aspect as well. So I thought, okay, I'm going to take the time. I'm going to see if this is actually the area I want to go into, marketing. And it was funny, by my fourth year, I was talking to someone who was in law school at Temple University, and we were sitting there talking for a while, and I was so intrigued, and I was so excited for this person and listening to what they were learning, and that's when I knew. That's when I knew I wanted to go to law school. I actually did an internship with a Supreme Court judge in Philadelphia, Norma Shapiro. And it did an internship after my fourth year at Temple University, and realized this is the route I want to take. So, being that it took me a little while to decide on that, I took a year off, and I studied for the LSATs, and I took the LSATs, and then I pursued on and went to Thomas Cooley Law School.
Just to back up, what were your family's businesses?
My mother and my aunt own Small Wonders and Wilkes-Barre Academy. Mm-hmm. And my father, he's a developer in the area, as well as my grandfather. You may have seen the commercials. He ran Majestic Lunch. He owns Majestic Lunch. My grandfather and my grandmother Needson and Stefanie Salavantis. So I was pretty much raised around all three of those businesses.
And earlier you mentioned a friend of your father's who was a county DA. County DA? Who was the DA?
Jerome Cohen.
And that's the first externship that you served then? Was with Attorney Cohen?
Yes, after law school.
Okay.
Actually, I shouldn't even say after law school. If you want the actual facts, it was before law school. Cooley, another requirement that they like to push on their students based on the practical experience is called an externship program, and they make it that 6 months before you graduate, they want you to go out where you plan to practice, and they want you to work with an attorney in the area, in the area that you want to specialize, and see if that is actually the area you want to specialize in. They would teach us that you may think, for instance, that you want to be a litigator, but you may go into the prosecutor's office and think, oh my, this is not the area I want to practice in. So that's why they tried to push people to be more well-rounded as a lawyer.
And I'm not familiar with his practice, so can you tell us where that's located in the specialty area? What appealed to you about that particular office?
Jerry Cohen's office. He is actually right here on the square. He does a little bit of everything. Family law, criminal, civil, real estate, just a little bit of everything.
And is that what you were thinking that you would want to do?
Yes, yes. After working with him for that time, the 6 months, I realized that I was interested in doing that. I like to be well-rounded. I like to learn the law in many different fields, so I was very interested in it. But like I said, sometimes it changes.
So you're admitted to the bar in 2009?
Correct.
Okay, and you continue to work for Attorney Cohen for a brief time?
I actually started my own law firm.
Okay. Well, can you tell us what types of activities you were involved in with his firm, first of all, before you started your own? What kind of law? Can you give us an overview of what you were doing at that time?
With Jerry's firm?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I actually wasn't really employed with his firm, so I just want to make that clear. But I would do civil complaints, civil trials, work with him on that. I would do criminal DUIs. I would do Social Security. I would do family, divorce, child support, real estate closings. I also did inheritance tax. There's just so much that I really did a lot.
Okay. And then immediately then you decided to start your own practice?
Correct, when I passed the bar.
Okay. You've also been an associate of another attorney in the area, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Tell us about that relationship and what you do there.
After working, opening my own private practice, I was, when you first start out, you struggle a little, and I looked to other attorneys, and especially people that would be mentors to me in the area. And one would be Robert Panovich. He, from the first day I met him, I believe it was in December of 2009, it was, we sat down and had a meeting, and I told him that I was interested in possibly working with him. And then I started working with him full time. I do insurance defense with him, but his firm also does a little bit of everything as well. You tend to see that in law firms. With criminal, once again, DUIs, you have obviously the civil insurance defense. You have, what I'm working on now are wills and durable powers of attorneys. I also do inheritance taxes, so we do a little bit there, and I also have my private practice as well. He allowed me to keep my private practice, which I do all of it again.
And what prompted you to approach him when you're surveying all your options in the area? What was it that prompted you to have a conversation with him?
One of the fellow graduates of Wilkes-Barre Academy, he works there. He's an associate there. And we actually ran into each other at Dunkin' Donuts on the square. Mm-hmm. And we were talking over coffee, and he was telling me how it's hard when you first start out. And he said, I had the best mentor. He was just a spectacular person. If I ever needed anything, he said, I would go directly to him, no one else. And he said, maybe, why don't we sit down with him? And you get to talk to him, see what you think about him. So, and that's how it actually led into it, from an old friend of mine from Wilkes-Barre Academy.
Okay. Can you give us a sense of your experience in the courtroom? Have you tried criminal cases, civil cases to verdicts?
I have not tried any criminal cases, and I also have not tried any civil cases. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but typically civil cases, it's very rare that you actually go to trial. I have gone right up to the point of going to trial, and then we settle the case. So that's the problem. I am experienced, I'm a litigator. I am at least once a week doing depositions, preparing for depositions. I'm preparing summary judgment motions. I'm preparing to go to trial. I prepare for and have conducted mediations and arbitrations. I have prepared briefs. I could go on. And I've also, on top of doing all of that with my firm as well as Attorney Panovich's firm, I also do work for the county as well. I've argued for termination of parental rights and have gone in front of the Superior Court and have filed briefs to the Superior Court as well.
If elected, would you be inclined to personally prosecute cases, or don't you think that would fit the role? Do you feel that the DA's job is more of a manager?
I do feel that I will prosecute cases. I believe, actually, it's Jerry Cohen that always said, to keep on top of things, you should, and for people to actually look up to you and believe that you are a good boss, you should be in the courtroom. And I believe in that. I believe that, yes, the district attorney should try cases, but you have to remember as well that the district attorney is more of an administrative role. So I wouldn't be trying as many cases because I would have the very experienced staff that are there to try the cases. And that's exactly how the past district attorneys have done it as well.
Okay. Are there areas in the district attorney's office now that you see could be improved?
I do. I believe that the office should be more specialized. That would be one of the areas that I'd like to change. By specializing the office, I believe it would be run more efficiently. For instance, a special victims unit or a drug unit. I know they started to do that, but it sort of died out. And I think the whole office should be restructured, in other words.
I know they've talked about a special victims unit. I'm not sure. It's come up. I don't know if
yes.
It's died out or not, but I know it's come up.
Yes. And until I actually get into the office and get to see exactly what has been done in the office, I couldn't give you more definite answers, but that is where the area that I'd like to change.
Have you ever had aspirations to be an assistant DA?
I actually was an intern with the DA's office for a little while, and learned about it and did some stuff in the office. But when I moved on to work with Attorney Panovich, I decided that I was getting the experience in that regard as well. So I decided that that would probably, at that point in time, would be my best move. Because honestly as well, I want to emphasize that right now, well, at the time, it was hard to find a job. So as an assistant district attorney, there wasn't any openings.
I think some voters might see your youth and relative inexperience relative to the other candidate in this for this office as a drawback. But how do you respond to that? What's your?
I'd like to tell people that they should look at my youth. They should look. My youth should be a positive thing. I think we need, I say, a breath of fresh air. I think we need new faces in, and we need to get rid of the people that were in the office when this occurred, the people that were running the offices. And we have begun to do that. We have begun to change our county. Look at the new form of government. I would never have imagined that to happen, but because people want a change, this is what they elect, this is what they voted on, and finally their voices are coming out, and we're finally listening to them, and we have 6 new judges coming in, and everything's going to change. And I think one last area is the district attorney's office, and I believe that we need to pretty much go in and sweep out, and I want to say that I will bring a fresh perspective to the office. I'm not scared to change things up, and I think that's what we need at this point.
If you were elected, would you get rid of the ADAs and the staff there?
No, I want to say that that is not what I'm looking towards. I believe we have a lot of wonderful, wonderful prosecutors in that office. So it's not that I would get in there and clean house. I believe that the people that were in charge at the time that should have been overseeing what had occurred and didn't step up because they actually had the power to step up and voice their opinion. You have assistant district attorneys. Some of them are new. Some of them are new in the office, and if they would have stepped up to the judge that was former Judge Chivarello that was doing this to the juveniles, then they may have lost their job. That may have ruined their career in the county. So I want to emphasize that I do believe there are a lot of very, very wonderful, experienced attorneys in that office.
I think we're talking about a staff of 67. They've got 10 detectives, about 30 ADAs. Do you have experience in management or leadership roles throughout, your educational background or your career?
Yes, I do. I worked with, like I said, with my family businesses and have overseen staff, hiring of staff, firing of staff. I've overseen managing the schedules. I've done payroll. I've done all of that. So I do have that experience. I have that managerial experience and administrative experience.
Is that with both the small wonders and the Majestic, your dad and father's business?
With Majestic, and he also owns a gas station in the Back Mountain area.
Why should voters choose you over your opponent?
Because as I knock on the doors of our citizens, there is a common theme. They say all the time, people don't care about us. These elected officials have not cared. They're not listening to what we're saying. And I stood there and I said, I'm not going to ignore you. I want to hear what your concerns are. There are citizens, senior citizens, who are scared to leave their homes. I knocked on one door about a week ago, and the woman came out and she turned to me. She said, she calmed down. It was like a sigh of relief. And I said, what's wrong? She said, I told my husband, if I don't come back after answering this door, please call 911. And that stuck with me. There's this overwhelming feeling from the citizens that no one's looking out for their interests. And I want to say that I will protect them. I will stand up and serve them. And given that opportunity, I will not let them down.
Now, based on some of the things on your website and some of the things that you've already said here today, it's your contention that the Luzerne County District Attorney's Office was allowed the abuses to continue in the courthouse, or complicit in some way? I'm not sure if complicit is the word, but allowed the abuse to happen?
What happened at the time, and the violation of the juveniles in our area, their basic constitutional rights, all of that, in my opinion, could have been stopped. It could have been stopped if the current district attorney just stepped foot into the courtroom and saw what was going on. She claims she did not have a clue as to what was going on, but her job was to oversee what was going on in the juvenile courtrooms, and she admitted to never doing that, never stepping foot. Justice Eakin of the Supreme Court said, where was she? Where was she? She had fallen at the time. And that's where it comes into the administrative role. As the administrator, you're supposed to oversee all areas of your office, and that was not done. And that's incompetency in my eyes. And if this happened to someone else in a different office, in a different business, do you think that person would still be in that office, would still be in the position that they were in after the violation of juveniles' rights?
I'm trying to recite what the Interbranch Commission said, because it didn't recommend that. I think it recommended it actually complimented her at one point, but I just don't have it in front of me. I'm frustrated I don't have it.
The Interbranch Commission report, I would have to disagree. They actually at one point said that she was uninterested, not concerned in what was going on in the juvenile courtrooms. And that should not have been. She stood by and abdicated her responsibilities, and that's what they focused on.
Do you think the DA's office has responded appropriately and sufficiently since the scandal came to light? Do you think there have been enough changes at this point?
I don't think there have been enough. I think that there should be more policies and procedures in place. I think they need to go through and implement and look at the policies that they have in place and make the needed changes, if they even have policies in place. Like I said, once I get into the office, I will have a better understanding. I also have seen how the Lackawanna County has run their juvenile centers, and I believe we should be up to that part. We should get to that level, and I think it's imperative that we start looking at other counties that have been doing this for so long and asking them for help and asking for their recommendations. And I also think that we should be looking at educating children of our county. I think that we should be proactive instead of reactive. I think that before we incarcerate these kids, let's go out there, let's talk to principals, let's talk to priests, let's talk to superintendents, let's talk to everybody and make it that the DA's office is more involved in the community. And I think that's imperative at this point. If we want to change what has happened in our county, I think we need to have more of an emphasis on it.
I believe some of those programs exist, like the mentoring program.
That have been, they've started to implement them, correct. And the youth panels,
right.
They've started to do that. But nothing to, I believe there should be more of an emphasis on it.
And I think you touched a little bit on this earlier when you said you'd like to see more specialty within the office. But do you have other ideas for operating the office, for exploring new projects, new programs?
I believe that we should have more of a presence in southern Luzerne County. I think that southern Luzerne County is always left out. They're always considered what they call the red-headed stepchild. I think that that shouldn't be the case. That maybe, and this, once again, until I get in there, I can't be certain of what I can do, but I'd like to see that maybe we could have ADAs down there more often, or maybe have possibly motions court in southern Luzerne County, that lawyers that are hired by people of Hazelton, people of Drums, Cunningham, don't always have to come up to Wilkes-Barre and spend, let's face it, it's about 40 minutes, a 40-minute drive one way. And they're paying their lawyers to do that. I think maybe we should try to help them a little more. I also think we should have more bilingual employees within the office. And one other area I also would like to look into is the technology and computer systems. Let's face it, we have major law firms in this area that have this technology, that scan in their briefs, their paperwork, and have this all at hand whenever they want. Touch of a button, they have it. Well, the DA's office is the largest law firm in the county. Why don't we have that technology? And that's what I believe we should look into. It would make it a smoother system. People that are, say, trying a certain case can go back and look at another case that they could take examples from, and so it would just be a smoother system, like I said.
Okay. And do you have specific ideas for controlling costs or on the flip side of that, increasing revenues? I mean, technology maybe being one of those areas, but are there other? When
Lupus first started out as district attorney, he hired someone to do grant writing. And I don't know what happened to that, because I know that there has been a comparison between Lackawanna County and Luzerne County, and we have not really gotten any grants for the district attorney's office, or minimal. I would want to focus on hiring, say, possibly the office manager, one of the areas that they would be specialized in, or their job would be, is to look into obtaining grants and helping to fund the DA's office. So we're not taking from the taxpayers. I also, I don't know if you guys know, but one of my emphasis is on the death penalty as well. I am pro-death penalty, but I believe that we have been wasteful with the death penalty, because, like you said, we need to be more fiscally responsible, especially these days. With the death penalty, I'd like to put together a panel of, say, judges, retired judges, possibly one or two citizens, ADAs, have them sit down and review the evidence that's before them and see if the death penalty should be sought. And then, of course, the district attorney would have the final say. But instead of jumping in and saying we're gonna seek the death penalty, which costs hundreds of thousands of taxpayers' dollars, it would go in front of multiple people to say this is a good idea, or maybe we shouldn't go this way. Maybe we should seek life imprisonment. I believe that would also cut down on the amount of spending that has been going on.
Are there cases that you think that the office should not have gone for the death penalty?
At this point, I don't want to comment on that, just because I don't have the ins and outs of those cases, and I don't have the specific evidence that was brought forward in those cases. But we have tried, I believe it was over 10 cases, and have had 0 convictions. And that's, like I said, one case you seek the death penalty for costs the taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Was there something in your career or that led you to have the pro-death penalty position on things? Was there, what brought you there?
That's an interesting question, because I honestly never even, I never sat down and thought about it, but I've just always believed that someone that does such a crime should pay the cost. So that was just always something that I believed in. And I do want to emphasize as well that, like I said, the district attorney would have the final say, but if it's a particularly heinous crime, I possibly would have the final say in saying this is one I would seek the death penalty for. So I would look at the heinousness of the crimes as well.
One of the excerpts from your website, your campaign material, and you alluded to this earlier, is the fear, particularly among senior citizens in the area.
Correct.
Do you think that reflects reality in this community, or do you think that that's affected by popular culture and what they see on TV? I mean, do you have evidence of escalating crime and those types of things?
I don't on me have evidence of the escalating crimes. I just know that just from people confronting me and speaking to me, I don't believe it's, you're probably referring to TV shows such as Law and Order or CSI and different shows like that, where they believe that the crime would be escalating, but it's people that have actually gone through it themselves that have confronted me. Over the weekend, it was someone in Wilkes-Barre was just telling me about how they just had their door kicked in, and the people had to be watching them. He was gone for 45 minutes, and it's a daily routine. He says it's common in this area. People know that this is going to happen, and they have to be aware of that. And you have to watch what you do on a daily basis. You can't have the same routine. And he's learning all of that. So this is just through listening to people of the county and listening to what has gone on and happened to them in their lives.
We've heard from different sources that so much of the crime in Luzerne County is linked directly or indirectly to illegal drug use. What ideas do you have for combating that problem, for curbing the drug trade? Curbing the drug trade, getting a handle on the amount of crime that's based on the use of illegal drugs?
Just being tougher on crime. I think if we show that we are going to prosecute, you do this crime and we are not going to let you go, and we are going to make an example out of you, then I believe that may try to curb the escalating crime, drug use in the area. And once again, I honestly, until I get in and see what is going on in the office and what is being done in that area, I will not have a better answer for you.
It doesn't feel like we have a reputation of being soft on drug use, so I'm not sure how you could be more tough. I mean, it seems like we've been tough for 10, 15 years. I don't think anybody is under the impression that I don't think that's stopped people using drugs so far, so I guess what would be different?
Well, I guess it would just be a continuation of being tough on crime. At this point, I really don't know what I would do, what they're implementing to even decide on what could be changed, what couldn't be changed. So until I get in there and see what they are doing and what possibly may be working and we should push more towards and be doing more of, or this isn't working, let's change this, let's do this, let's work more with the detectives, see what they recommend. Let's get opinions from different people, different counties. I think when I could actually get in there and see what they're doing, then I'll have a better perspective on it.
During the campaign, are there things being said about you that you feel are off target or misrepresent you, or do you feel that it's been a fairly straightforward campaign at this point?
Well, at this point, there isn't much that's being said about me. Besides the inexperience, and of course, what I like to say to people, it's the elephant in the room, my youth and and my inexperience. I want to emphasize that I'm a litigator. I know that I've been practicing just over 2 years, but I'm in and out of the courtrooms. I'm doing this on a daily basis. I have about 50 to 100 cases sitting in my office right now that I'm working at as we speak. People don't know that about me. They look at me and they think I'm young. I don't know what I'm doing. But that's not true. I manage my office. I handle as many cases as I can. And I want people to know that about me. I want them to know that I do have that experience. Yes, I may not have gone in front of a jury. I may not have tried a case. But I'm ready to hit the ground running. I'm ready to jump in. And I will try the same, if not more, cases than the current district attorney that tried in her first 4 years as the first assistant under Lupus, and I would try as many or more as she tried in the past 4 years as district attorney. I am not afraid to do that. And as I'm going off, I'm losing my train of thought, but like we all do. But I just want to emphasize, I do have that experience, and I want people to know that about me. And going back to, it's been quiet, it's just been really quiet. I haven't heard anything, and I'm the main person that actually is doing, is in the media. And so there isn't really anything that has been attacked on against me.
On the subject of the campaign, how much do you anticipate that you'll spend, that your campaign will?
At this point, I'm not certain. As it comes in, we've been spending a decent amount. I would say probably over $200,000. But the reason being is that when I decided to run, I knew this would be a fight. I knew that I was going against a well-known name, and I would have to get my name out there. I would need the whole county, which is much larger than most people think, to hit every corner of the county and let them know who I am. And I knew it would cost some money, and so I was ready to do that. And here I am today. And a lot of people know who I am, and it has worked.
Would that be a pay cut for you, if you were elected?
It's maybe. It depends. Each year, it depends on the year. Depends on what you do in each year. Attorneys, one year you can be making $50,000, and next year you can make $500,000. So it all depends.
This is your first effort or entry into politics?
Yes, it is.
Does it surprise you to spend that kind of money for a job that pays that much?
Yes, yes. But I knew, like I said, I knew I'd have to. I knew, as being a new politician in this area, to get my name out there, I knew I'd have to spend that money. I'm not well known like the current district attorney, and in order to win a race such as this, I would have to spend the money.
Are you have any limit? Are you accepting donations, I'm assuming?
I am accepting donations.
Are there any limits on donations?
No, there are not.
You're accepting money from attorneys and...
I'm accepting money from anybody that wants to support my campaign. And most people know already that most of the money that is being contributed to my campaign is from my family. They're my biggest supporters. And they're helping me 100%, and it's not even just money. It's helping me with doing door-to-door. My mother walks with me every night. And I say to people all the time, I say, if you can't afford to give me money, put a sign in your yard. It's not about the money that people are contributing, it's about the support. And that's what I want to focus on. And I do have colleagues, attorneys in the area that are supporting me, that have donated to my campaign. And I thank them for it, because that means they do believe I can do this. And so they're supporting me, and I'm very grateful for it.
I think I read that you're one of 6 children?
Yes, I am.
Any in the area who are in law enforcement? Any other lawyers in the family?
No, there are not.
But they all live locally?
Yes, they do. Well, I have to say 2 of them passed. So the remainder live locally.
Mm-hmm. You were going to ask, yeah.
Is there any family connection to county business? Your father said was a developer.
He's a developer, yes.
Any county projects, anything like that?
No, there are not. It's all private. The closest connection is possibly my aunt, who has been an advisor at LCC for, I think, over 30 years now. That's the only connection to or a family member who may be involved at all in the county.
The small one is a private facility, doesn't get any kind of government contract?
No, it is a private facility.
Any other questions? I want to ask you about this endorsement interview. Do you feel that we asked the appropriate questions and you had a chance to answer?
I do. I feel that you did. I also want to emphasize as well, going back to youth, I want people to look at me, especially the young generation of our county. I want them to look at me and use me as a role model. I want the youth to get more involved. I think it's imperative they get more involved. I think for too long we're told that we can't do it, we're too young, we don't have the ideas that other people may have. And I turn around and I say, well, look at Steve Jobs. He was a teenager when he started Apple. And look at the guy that started Facebook. He was 20 years old, I believe it was. We have this passion. We have this energy. We are capable of doing this, and I want my generation to know that, and I want them to step forward. Too many people, and this is another thing that I talk to a lot of people about when I knock on doors. They say, it's nice to see the youth getting involved, and they turn to me and say, well, my kids left the area. My kids couldn't stay here. And that's sad to me. I did have opportunities other places, but I chose to come home and I wanted to make a difference here. And that's what I want other people to do. I want them to stay in the area and I want them to feel the same way. And I hope that I can be a role model to the youth. And I'd like to emphasize that I'm so proud to be part of the young Republicans, and I'm so proud to see the young Democrats getting involved in this race. It is nice to see people of my generation just getting involved. So I just want to applaud them, and I hope it continues. I hope it's just not for this short period of time. So I just wanted to emphasize that was one of my biggest concerns with this area is youth involvement.
Okay. Is there anything else that we did not ask you about that you particularly want to mention, or anything that you think we might have gone over too quickly that you want to emphasize?
I do have. I'm trying to think of everything that that I've been going over. I do have, and you guys probably do as well, I have the brief that was filed. The brief that was filed by the DA's office when the juveniles went to and filed a brief to the Supreme Court, the King's Bench brief. Right. And I have a copy of that. I also have a copy. This is when the DA's office was saying that this isn't of public importance. This is of little public importance. And this is why they filed this brief against those juveniles, saying there is nothing to look into in this area. And they fought for the decisions made by Judge Chivarella. This is one of the main reasons why I decided to step forward. And then I have another brief. And if this doesn't upset you, this upset me even more. This was a brief filed trying to retry the juveniles, that the record of these juveniles were to be dismissed. The district attorney's office decided they wanted to retry those kids, saying that this is appropriate, these are the appropriate steps. This upset me even more. Everything that has gone on to these juveniles, everything that they've been through, and I'm not saying all the juveniles were correct, I'm not saying they're all innocent, but what the violation that was done to them, the violation that in law school you are taught time and time again, you need to protect the rights of the citizens, and that is your job. Their rights were violated, but yet to turn around and say, we're just going to go after them again one more time, it upset me. And I would like you guys to read over this, and I'd like you guys to form your own opinions on it. And that I wanted to make sure to have a copy of both of them if you didn't have them for your review.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it.